Hey everyone, it's Dave. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you've been having a good week. It's been wild out there investing in space companies. We've had a different company running up every single day. Today, it's actually been Intuitive Machines that has had the big run over 30%. So that's the one we're talking about today, because I do think this company actually does have a lot of interesting catalysts in the near to medium term. And it's one I have been thinking about adding some shares on, I'm not going to lie. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with that today. Before we dive into that though, if you're new here and haven't subscribed already, please do consider doing that because it really helps out. If you're not new here, I'll check out your comments down below, and those likes and shares always help out as well. So let's dive into Intuitive Machines and their crazy day. So starting off with the stock chart, as I said, the company was up over 30%. They did pull back a little bit towards the end of the day, but still a massive day for Intuitive Machines. Not something you see a lot of. Looks like this has mostly been driven by Wall Street bets, folks, as if you check the website Ape Wisdom, we can see that Intuitive Machines has climbed massively on the most mentions list, and seems to be a lot of Wall Street bets folks putting outsized options bets on and stuff like that. The company increase in mention something like 2,000%. So just a massive climb there for Intuitive Machines. This Wall Street bets stuff does make investing a little bit more challenging in these companies, I find, because, you look at the way I look at things, I try to invest based on, the company, when I think the underlying company is going to do better, when they're going to get big contracts, if I think things are looking good, if they're going to grow well, if they execute properly. And then it's hard to predict when you just get a wild 30% plus day on no news out of Wall Street bets. It really makes things challenging. But with that being said, there are some news events coming up that could be very big for this company, and they did just have quite a good quarter as well. So let's talk about those things as well as the X factor, which is Wall Street bets. First of all is NASA's Near Space Network Services contract. This is basically NASA wanting to contract out commercial communication and navigation service providers within 2 million kilometers of Earth for robust communications and navigation services using a blend of government and commercial assets. So these awards are coming up very soon, and it's actually a very big deal. The awards are going to be divided up into two categories. You'll have direct to Earth services to connect ground stations and user missions, as well as space relay services to transmit mission critical data between the ground stations and space assets. This is a 10-year multi-award contract for communication services in and around the vicinity of the moon, and Intuitive Machines has submitted a prime bid with Raytheon as a significant subcontractor for the data relay services portion. Both categories of the contract will have a 5-year basic ordering period valued at $584 million. So Intuitive Machines, still a relatively small company. This would be very big for them. And with a maximum option value of $4.2 billion. Intuitive Machines has made bids on both categories. They expect the first one to be announced sometime in August, so really any day now, and then the next one in September. If they win one or both of these contracts, that's, more than doubling their backlog right there. Could be extremely exciting for the company. So that is one potential catalyst for the stock I've been looking out for on the short term. Actually, funny story. Yesterday, I tried to take a position in Intuitive Machines. I don't have after-hours trading, so I put in the order, just figured I'd let it sit there. And I wasn't doing this because I thought Wall Street Bets was going to take the stock for a ride. I was doing it because I thought they were going to win at least one of these NSN contracts, and maybe that would move the stock. However, there was so much of a frenzy in the after hours and pre-market trading that the stock opened up something like 15+%, 20+%, and my order never went through. So I missed out on all those gains. We'll see what happens, whether it drops back down, whether I can find another opportunity to get back in. Can be a little frustrating with this Wall Street Bets stuff at times, but I'm not going to complain because they also do sometimes run up stocks that I already own. And if you look at the transcript from Intuitive Machines' most recent earnings calls, the CEO seems incredibly confident that they're going to win at least one of these contracts. The way he talks about it on the earnings call, he almost talks about it like a foregone conclusion that they're going to win and that they're planning for what they're going to do after they win. So if that does happen, it will be very exciting. There've been some clues online that maybe they will win. There's been rumors and speculation and stuff like that. Nothing firmly announced from NASA, but I felt pretty good about their odds, and that is one reason why I was interested in their stock. Okay, next up, let's talk about NASA's Viper rover. Now, this is a wild one. It was originally contracted as a part of the CLPS program, Commercial Lunar Payload Program, for about $400 million. The cost of building it out and testing it and all that sort of thing ballooned to over $600 million. And this triggered a review from NASA, and basically they're not allowed to proceed with it unless they get additional funding from Congress that it doesn't seem is forthcoming. So NASA's had to cancel this rover that is pretty much completely done, just needs to do some testing. They've already done some thermal vacuum testing, which is one of the last steps for the rover. It looks done. So you've got this, $500 million rover that's done practically, and NASA's had to cancel it right at the finish line. They're saying they'll save $82 million by canceling this rover, but on a rover that's already had, $500 million spent on it, it's a little bit of a weird decision, but again, the politics comes into play in going to Congress and all that sort of thing. So everyone obviously very upset that so much work got put into this rover and it wasn't going to go to the moon. NASA then pivoted to say, well, if anyone else wants to fly this thing to the moon, we'll let you do that as long as you share the data with us and, follow certain guidelines. Intuitive Machines has expressed interest. So this is an interesting story. On the one hand, getting a $500 million, $600 million lunar rover for free sounds pretty damn cool, and I really do want this thing to fly. I think there's a lot of valuable science that can be done with it. Intuitive Machines could launch it on one of their missions with a payload capacity of about 1,500 kilograms and things about 500 kilograms. On the other hand, though, you're flying this mission, you're giving NASA the data. They've somehow got to make money on this, right? Like, you can't just do it for, out of the goodness of your heart. This is a commercial company with shareholders. It's not yet even profitable. They don't have a ton of cash in the banks. One of the biggest concerns I've had with this company for a while is their cash balance. So you can't just fly it and give the data just to be nice. They've got to find a way to make a ton of money off of this, and I want to hear more about the plan on how they would make money off of it. I'm sure that will be forthcoming. I'm sure they know they need to make money on it, but it could be pretty exciting to be able to get the prestige and excitement of flying this rover, of owning this $500 million rover for free. Maybe that is a potential catalyst, get them in the news more. They did have a big run up during their first lunar lander, that IM-1 mission. Speaking of those IM-1 missions, IM-2 should be launching by the end of the year, I believe, or at least it's being delivered by Q4 2024, getting ready to launch. So, maybe there's a potential catalyst there. Their next lunar lander mission, hopefully they can fix some of those issues they had on the first one and land successfully on the moon this time. That would be exciting. They also had an announcement that they're going to be working with an asteroid mining company, Astroforge, I believe it's called, just today, to send their spacecraft and instruments out to an asteroid. So, that's another exciting mission that just happened. And then, of course, the Lunar Terrain Vehicle is absolutely huge. This is one I have been excited about for a while. So NASA has now awarded 3 teams of companies, basically studies, to kind of figure out how they would do it and ultimately submit their bids for the design of a lunar rover that could have astronauts, driving around in it on the moon. This would be an unpressurized rover, so they would need to be in their spacesuits, but still a really massive deal. So how this works is they got about 30 million to, figure out their bid, and they have made a team with several other companies to come up with their proposal. They're one of 3 teams. So right there, 1 in 3 odds of getting this massive multi-billion-dollar contract for a lunar rover could be extremely exciting if it does happen. And I honestly think they have as good a shot as anybody. I think NASA likes working with them. They've got a lot of former NASA employees. They seem to work well with NASA. Obviously, they've gotten a lot of other contracts with NASA in the past. Their lander did a better job than the other lander, Astro Robotic, I believe it was. Their Peregrine lander had more problems, so they're outperforming already. And I see no reason why they wouldn't get it. Obviously, the other teams could come in with some interesting designs and do some cool things. Nothing's for sure, but that's another potential catalyst down the line. This lunar rover could end up happening in something like $4 billion, I think, total. Of course, this would be divided between various other companies that Intuitive would be working with, but Intuitive would be the prime on that, which is a very big deal. So there's a lot of catalysts coming up. Again, the risks with this company are the balance sheet, only having 30-something million dollars. The company says they have enough money for another year of operations, but they're not going to run out. Tons of potential backlog incoming if they can land some of these contracts. But I do think there should be a capital raise at some point if the stock does get a bump. And once again, who knows how this Wall Street bet stuff is going to play out? Was this a one-day bump that's going to drop back down? Are people going to continue running it up? I don't think this is going to be an AST situation where it's like a 10x. But it's really hard to say with Wall Street bets, and that just puts a whole nother angle into the situation. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think of the company and what they're doing. I really hope they do end up saving Viper, because that's a big investment of taxpayer money going down the drain if it doesn't end up flying. But I really hope also for shareholders that they can find a way to make a good deal of money off of it, whether that's selling some data to third parties or capabilities or doing something to try and commercialize it. I really want to hear more details on how they would go about doing that. But yeah, the biggest, most exciting, nearest term catalyst is that NSN contract. We're expecting the announcement by the end of August. So literally within a couple weeks, that could be $500+ million in backlog coming to the company, which would be absolutely exciting. So once again, let me know how you're thinking about Lunar. Are you a shareholder? Are you thinking about buying? Did you sell in this recent pump we had today? Are you concerned at all about their balance sheet? Do you like what they're doing? One thing I've always thought about is why limit yourself to just the moon? Space is such a broad domain. It seems kind of arbitrary to say we're going to focus only on the moon. But, it could work for them. It's a big market. There's a lot of contracts out there. So if they land some of these, I don't see why they couldn't be on their way. Yeah, very interesting company right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. I hope you have a great day and a great rest of the week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.